driving down I-40, headed west.
We'll see the great grandbaby.
See the great grandbaby, yes.
And Cody's little puppies that he's got.
Yes, and our puppies too.
Yeah, our puppies.
So videos of those.
Yes. 580-799-1910 for my fluffy carriers from Love My Buble. And then you can call Cody for his babies, which are testable chocolates, 806-664-0173.
All right, now she's hijacked the channel. Let's let her talk about puppies. All right, here we go. A homing Exion. How do you prevent puppies from having flat chests with this whelping box set up? Would love to know, thanks. Well, so the flat chest issue is not an issue with our whelping box. The flat chest issue is an issue with all puppies. There's a number of things that will cause flat chests in puppies, and they're all fixable. The first one is not giving your puppies traction so they can get up on their feet, move around. They're on a slick surface, like for instance the plastic tray on the bottom of a crate, and they start sliding around and their feet don't get up underneath them and they slide around and they're on their chests. And they get used to that and they just start swimming. It's called swimmer's chest, and they develop a flat chest. The other one will be is small litter, lots of milk.
And lots of milk, and one puppy gets so fat.
Yes.
We had one puppy one time, there was two in that litter. One was just humongously fat, very healthy girl, and how she would play with the other puppy was sit on her rear end and spin around to play with her. Wouldn't get up and walk because she'd splay out. She was so fat. So we had to tape her up so she'd raise those back legs up and actually use them to walk with.
So there's the fix right there.
Yeah.
So swimmer's puppy is you fix it by taping the back legs together.
Where they'll raise their little hips up together.
Their legs can't splay out, and they have to get up on their back legs. And once they start to walk, which is about the time their eyes are opening up, you're day 10 to day 4, 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
All right, Tammy says 3 weeks. I'm saying you want to get on this, though. The thing about this is if you've got a fat puppy and you feel a flat chest, don't hang around.
Yeah.
Number one, I've seen people use things like this foam crates to go underneath if they really have swimmers problems. We have never, ever had a puppy that left us with a flat chest. Not one time that I can think of, right?
No.
Never. Not one time. We had a situation many, many years ago. We had some labs, and we didn't know what we were doing back then. And we had some that really did have flat chests, and we didn't discover this because we didn't know what we were doing until they were like 7, 8 weeks old. We still got it fixed. But the answer is tape their legs up. It fixes it. It's not an issue with the crate. It's an issue with not having traction and a combination of fat puppies with lots of milk and small litters.
GMC car right here. It's a shorter one than ours.
Jacob Navarro, my Frenchie entered heat on day 20. She was at a 30.44. She got a surgical examination. One of the thoughts is surgical and what the chance of being pregnant. She's 1 year and 3 months old. Well, no, you're in the right range. I'm assuming that you used an IDEX machine for this. If it was a mini Videx, then you did it too early. But I'm assuming it's an IDEX machine. On an IDEX machine, we want to do a surgical something between a 25 and a 30, and you're in that range there. The bigger problem you have is a young dog at a year and 3 months, and they are harder to get bred than older dogs. So you'll probably be successful. There's a reply here. Someone says also you should do an ultrasound or a pregnancy test on day 35 or both. Okay, fair enough. Oh, you're asking that question. No, I wouldn't do both. I would do a blood test, a relaxin blood test. You can order those on our site, mybreedersupply.com. Very simple to do. They're inexpensive. Get results in 5 minutes, and you do that about 3 weeks, about 30 days after AI. To be reliable, about 30 days after AI. You can do them at 24 days. You can do an ultrasound 24 days, but I like to wait 30 days. We also didn't say this. You also say you also did a PG test. She was on. Oh, she was. I see. She was a 6, and 3 days later she was a 30.44. Yeah, so she went up pretty quickly. I mean, what you'd expect is 6 is ovulation, and you'd expect to be doing an AI on that dog 3 days later, and he did it 3 days later. No, it's all sensible. You know, you're good. You're good. Probably be fine. Bernice Salazar. I'm gonna get this one to Tammy. Tammy, here we go. Also, what kind of early signs of pregnancy should I see for a dog who's currently 10 days since her first AI?
Just 10 days before her AI?
Just 10 days after her first AI.
Okay. So you're probably really not going to see any change until another couple of more weeks.
Right.
That would be nipple change, especially if it's a first-time mama. The nipples are the first thing that'll let you know something. About 2 to 3 weeks, you might notice her rib cage opening up more, wider than what she was, because bulldogs carry their babies up higher for the first few weeks. Then it all moves down later. In 2 weeks prior to the first breeding due date, a week to 2 weeks before their first breeding due date, when they're supposed to have babies.
Due date. Okay.
Yes. She will definitely be lower
Unless she's got one puppy.
and
in
bloom
there.
out.
Unless she's got one puppy in there.
Even if you'll still notice a change.
Well, we've been in situations before we didn't know whether the dog was pregnant. There's one puppy in there.
But anyway,
So
those are my signs.
So the other thing
Maybe
is
morning sickness
there you
every
go.
once in a while.
Morning sickness, change of
Sometimes.
yes.
It's just like humans. Some
Yes,
people have
absolutely.
morning sickness.
But about 2
some
weeks,
people
about
don't.
10 days, you can see that morning sickness. You know, not eating as much food, being more sleepy, being more affectionate,
Or
maybe
eating a lot of food.
yeah,
But
vomiting.
immediately, the day you breed her, switch her over to puppy food. A lot better for her. Make sure you're giving vitamins. We give vitamins all the time. But if you're not, make sure you give her vitamins and switch her to puppy food the day you get her bred, if you're not already giving vitamins.
Bernice also says, should my female have a light green discharge after heat and being bred?
No.
No.
You need to go to the vet and have that checked out.
You got a reply here from Melissa Keating. She says no, check her temperature and speak to a vet.
Right.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So what's a normal temperature on a dog? 100.5. Anything 102 or higher is
What,
definitely
100.5
100.5 is normal.
to 100.1.
Yeah, I mean 100. Yeah,
But
exactly.
if she's running 100.2,
102. That's definitely vet.
yeah, you need.
Yeah,
I would
so-
go to the vet anyway. I mean, because you got babies, precious cargo trying to come on board.
Yeah. So the problem here is pyometra is what you're worried about. It's
Yeah.
where you've got infection in the uterus. And if you do, then early detection antibiotics can fix this, especially if it's what's called an open pyometria, which is, if that's what your girl has, you know, the uterus is still opened up and the muck is coming out, and that's why you're seeing a green discharge. So, you know, like Tammy says, the way
Well, Kiki, we didn't know she had this closed pyometra, and we thought her pregnancy was chiming along because she got big, like she was pregnant, and you know, we thought she's just sluggish because of her, you know, being pregnant, and she had a closed pyometra. That
So,
was a sad
so
thing.
here's another one right here that's kind of relates to that. My dog has been acting. This is Leroy. And one of that's Leroy Brown.
Yeah.
He's got a man. What's that? A junkyard. What is that? Leroy.
No.
Man, it's a junkyard dog.
In the whole
Being,
doggone town.
being a dog old town. Anyway, so Leroy. My dog has been acting normally throughout the day, but then at night comes around, she begins puking terribly for hours on end, and she's very lethargic. The attacks would only act up in the evening, late night. Today she was diagnosed with closed pyometria, high blood cell count, and a swollen uterus on X-ray. Well, there you go. So one of the things I would say is, if ever you've got a dog that's misbehaving, then the first thing would be is go take the dog's temperature. And if it's got a temperature of 102 or higher, then you've got to be worried, especially if the dog's been bred, about things like pyometria. It's time to go to the vet. Angela Moran, I love this guy. You helped my wife and I through the whole process, even when they weren't born. We appreciate your hard work, your motivation, and not because of the money, but for the love and care you give this amazing. Gotta read more. Oh, you're welcome. No, thank you. We like compliments like that. One last one. Ernesto Vargas, do you do any pre-breeding flushes on your females?
There's some people that do.
Yes, there are, and there's reasons why you might want to do that. We've never done it, but I have heard of people doing what's called a gentamicin flush, which is gentamicin is an antibiotic, and they're doing that because they're worried about things like pyometria or anything that's potentially in the vaginal tract that could get pushed up into the uterus in the process of doing the AI. So,
Well, remember Linda Fuller? She got us started in the French Bulldogs.
and she always did it.
19 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, she always did flushes.
Okay. We don't, but I'm going to go do a bit more research on this. I mean, there is that. What's the chance of getting pyometria? 1 in 20, something like that, 5%, something like that. Now, if you could reduce that down to 1%, it would be worth doing it. I don't know if there's a downside. Well, there is a downside, but I don't know if it's a downside in this case. The downside is that when you start to introduce antibiotics in a situation where you don't need it, is that you have a possibility of, number one, wiping out the flora that's important to being there. And if you don't continue it long enough, with a flush you wouldn't be,
Just use Masakel, though.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the question of what kind. No. If you did a flush with, vinegar and water, then I mean, there's no.
I would go buy Masakel that's vinegar.
Yeah.
And use
It's a
that. That's
female
already pre-mixed.
hygiene product. You buy it at Walmart.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
That way you're not getting one thing too strong than the other, and doing it properly.
Right. Yeah. There you go. So, I'm going to do a bit more looking onto this and see whether it's something that we maybe should be doing.
Remember, we have puppies for sale. 580-799-1910. Give us a call.
Yeah, video coming up the next 24 hours on that. See you, everybody. Bye. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.